Have you ever pondered over the immense wealth of King Solomon, the biblical monarch who reigned supreme over the kingdom of Israel? This enigmatic figure, with a reign that spanned 4 decades in the 10th century BC, is renowned not only for his wisdom but also for his extraordinary affluence. The scriptures paint a vivid picture of his wealth, with gold in abundance and exotic treasures from far-off lands. His realm was one of opulence and prosperity, a golden era in Israel's history. King Solomon's wealth wasn't merely a symbol of personal fortune. It was a testament to the prosperity of his kingdom, to the peace he maintained, and to the alliances he forged. His riches were a reflection of his wisdom, of the trade routes he established, and of the resources he harnessed. So, what were the secrets behind King Solomon's extraordinary wealth? Stay tuned as we unearth these mysteries. Diving straight into the first secret, it was King Solomon's wisdom and knowledge that laid the foundation of his wealth. Known as the wisest man of his time, Solomon's wisdom was a divine gift, a blessing from God himself. This extraordinary wisdom allowed him to make sound decisions, not just in ruling his kingdom, but also in managing his wealth. Let's take a quick journey back into biblical times. There's a well-known account where 2 women came to Solomon with a baby, each claiming to be the mother. With a sharp mind and a discerning heart, Solomon proposed to divide the baby in 2, knowing the real mother would rather lose her claim than see her child harmed. This is just one example of Solomon's wisdom in action. The understanding and wisdom Solomon possessed was beyond measure, and this played a pivotal role in his wealth accumulation. Indeed, wisdom and knowledge are key to unlocking wealth, as demonstrated by King Solomon. Moving on to the second secret, King Solomon's peaceful reign and strategic alliances significantly contributed to his prosperity. King Solomon, renowned for his wisdom, was also a master of diplomacy. His reign was marked by peace, a stark contrast to the turbulent times of his predecessor. This tranquility allowed for stability and growth, creating a conducive environment for economic expansion. In addition, Solomon formed strategic alliances with neighboring kingdoms, marrying princesses from these realms. These marriages were not just matrimonial alliances, but also political ones, fostering economic cooperation. Trade routes opened up, markets expanded, and wealth poured in. It's fascinating, isn't it? The power of peace and strategic partnerships. They were not just socio-political tools, but also economic catalysts. King Solomon's peaceful reign and alliances helped create a thriving economy, paving the way for his legendary wealth. Peace and alliances, therefore, were instrumental in King Solomon's wealth creation. The third secret behind Solomon's wealth lies in his focus on trade and infrastructure development. Let's dive into the world of commerce in ancient Israel. Picture a land nestled in the crux of 3 continents: Africa, Asia, and Europe. That's Israel, a jewel in the crown of the ancient world's trade routes. King Solomon, being the astute ruler he was, capitalized on this geographical advantage. He transformed Israel into a bustling hub of international trade. He established trade relations with nations far and wide, from Egypt to Lebanon, and even as far as the land of Ophir. Goods flowed in and out of Israel like water in a river. Grains, textiles, spices, precious metals, you name it. And it was probably a part of Solomon's trade network. This brought immense wealth into his kingdom, not just in terms of material wealth, but also in terms of cultural exchange and diplomatic ties. But trade was just one side of the coin. On the flip side, Solomon heavily invested in infrastructure. He understood that to attract traders and keep the wealth flowing, he needed to provide them with secure and efficient trade routes. So he constructed roads, ports, and fortified cities. One of his most ambitious projects was the construction of the Temple of Jerusalem, a monumental endeavor that not only served as a place of worship, but also acted as an economic catalyst. The temple's construction created jobs, stimulated the local economy, and showcased Solomon's magnificence to the world. And it wasn't just the temple. Solomon embarked on numerous other infrastructure projects, each one grander than the last. These projects not only enhanced the kingdom's prestige, but also provided employment, drove economic growth, and fostered a sense of unity among the people. Trade and infrastructure, then, were significant pillars of King Solomon's wealth. So, whether you're a king or a commoner, remember, Investing in trade and infrastructure can open up avenues of prosperity that you may not have imagined before. The fourth secret behind King Solomon's wealth was his exploration and exploitation of resources. In his quest for riches, King Solomon was not content with what was readily available. He sent out expeditions to uncharted territories, discovering new resources and adding to his wealth. Among these were gold and precious stones, resources that were highly sought after in his time. Solomon's explorers braved the unknown and returned with treasures that further filled his coffers. But it wasn't just about discovering these resources. Solomon also understood the value of exploiting them. He set up mining operations, extracting and refining these precious materials, readying them for trade and use. This strategic approach to resource management was key to his prosperity. Solomon didn't just sit back and wait for wealth to come to him. He actively sought it out, discovering and exploiting resources to their full potential. Exploration and exploitation of resources thus added significantly to King Solomon's wealth. The final secret behind King Solomon's wealth was the divine favor he enjoyed. This isn't a secret per se, rather a profound truth that resonates throughout Solomon's life according to biblical accounts. It's said that Solomon was a man after God's own heart, a humble and devout king who sought wisdom over wealth and in doing so, found both. His relationship with the divine was one of reverence, obedience, and trust. This divine favor wasn't just about material prosperity. It was a blessing that extended to wisdom, peace, and influence, which in turn contributed to his wealth. Solomon's wealth wasn't just a product of his strategic alliances, wise trade policies, or resource exploration. It was also a reflection of his spiritual wealth. Thus, the divine favor that Solomon enjoyed was not only about his material wealth, but was also about his spiritual riches. Indeed, divine favor played a crucial role in King Solomon's wealth accumulation. To sum up, King Solomon's wealth was a product of his wisdom, peaceful reign and alliances, focus on trade and infrastructure, exploration of resources, and divine favor. Let's take a moment to revisit these secrets. First, Solomon's wisdom and knowledge, a divine gift, guided him towards prosperity. His intelligence allowed him to make smart decisions and lead his kingdom effectively. Next, his peaceful reign and strategic alliances ensured stability and opened doors for economic growth. Thirdly, Solomon's focus on trade and infrastructure was key. He built an impressive infrastructure network and nurtured international trade, which brought wealth into his kingdom. Fourth, his exploration and exploitation of resources, including the legendary mines of Ophir, contributed to his vast riches. Finally, divine favor played an undeniable part in Solomon's wealth. His relationship with God brought blessings, not just spiritual but also material. Remember, these secrets are not just historical trivia but timeless principles that can guide us in our quest for prosperity. After all, who wouldn't want to learn from the wealthiest king in history?